Alrighty, guys. So it's the off season. It's Christmas week. So it's time to start looking ahead towards the 2022 season. We got New Year's approaching. We got Christmas approaching. So let's take a look at what some of the players can do to take the next step in 2022. And one of the players I want to focus on first is a guy that the Astros are going to have to count on a lot in 2022, and that is Alex Bregman. And we'll do that on this episode of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Stros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. So I want to go ahead and look at a few things over the next few days as we kind of lead up to Christmas. And I want to focus on a few players that need to take the next step in 2022. And one of those players I wanted to look at was Alex Bregman. I know you want to say, Eric, well, he's a star. He's already carried the Astros for many years, but he's taken a little bit of step back. And if you would ask him, he would probably say the same thing. And no, I'm not a hitting coach. No, I'm not a baseball mental coach. I'm not somebody who can go in and fix him himself. But I just want to take a look at some of the stats, and I want y'all to just join the discussion with me. What else do you notice? What else do you think he needs to do to go to? Because especially if we lose Carlos Correa, I don't think he's going to shift over to shortstop, but he's going to replace Carlos Correa's bat in the Astros lineup. So before we do that, I want to thank you for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. And whether it's on YouTube, keep on subscribing, keep on liking us, and keep on listening to the audio version on your way to work every day. So the first segment, we're going to go ahead and take a look at what happened in 2021 that led to where we are right now with Alex Bregman. So Alex Bregman, he only played in 91 games. We know he was hampered with the leg issues all year, and he played a lot in Sugarland with the Skeeters, and then he was going to play sometimes, and then the Skeeters said, "Oh no, he's scratched." There's a lot of confusion there, like were they doing that just to get him to sell some tickets or something like that? But with the with the Astros this year, he batted 270 with a 777 OPS. That's down from a career 884 OPS. So that's way low than his career. He only had 12 home runs, 55 RBIs. He had 44 walks, 53 strikeouts, a 270 batting average, a 355 on base percentage, a 422 slugging percentage. So on the surface level, you would say, wow, those are some pretty good stats. Let's take a look at what he did according to StatCast. So his average exit velocity was 43%. So let me actually look at the actual numbers. So his average exit velocity was about 89 miles per hour. His launch angle was about a little bit higher. No, it's actually lower than his career. It was 15.9. His average career was 17.4. I guess his WOBA was a little bit, I would say, yeah, it was actually his second lowest of his career at 336. So then you have his K rate was still in top 5% of the league. He is one of the hardest hitters to strike out in baseball. So it's still a good thing to have with Alex Bregman. He still doesn't strike out a lot. He had 13.3% strikeout rate. His walks wasn't as high as we've seen in the past. And I think what you saw right here was a guy who didn't play a lot in 2021. He was a little bit more aggressive because he was trying to make something happen. So he didn't walk as much as he's done in the past. But he is he's somebody who has a good strike zone. He has a good eye. And this is something that we have. We see a lot of this situation. So I think what we saw in 2021 was somebody who is pretty good. He doesn't have a high whiff percentage. I mean, his whiff percentage is high, but that means he doesn't swing a lot. His sprint speed went way down, and we'll talk about that in the next segment. Well, actually, I want to do this real quick. So, sprint speed is a big thing, especially when you're trying to beat out the base hit. In 2021, he was the 24th percentile. In 2020, he was 55th percentile. In the 2019, he was the 63rd percentile, and then in 2018, he was the 71st percentile. So you can't tell me that those legs weren't really affecting him in 2021. So that was an issue because he dropped all the way from 71% to 20 to 24 in 2021. So his hard hit percentage also went down. If you look at what he did, and I don't want to go too much into this, but he still is 27 years old. This guy still has a lot of potential. He dealt with a lot of injuries. He only played in 94 games in 2021. He still scored 54 runs. He still had 94 hits, but he still has a lot to his OPS plus, which is something that tells you how he is compared to the rest of baseball. He still was over the 100 mark, which is saying that you're better than the average baseball player. So he was at 113. So that's where that's his second lowest of his career. So this is something that you have to kind of look at. This is a lot of things that happen, but he only played in 91 games. He only had 348 at bats. That's so it's just hard to gauge a lot from this past season. And you know that the legs hampered him a lot. You know the Astros are very cautious with him. They wanted him ready for the playoffs, so that's why they really slow balled him, and it maybe helped him, it maybe hurt him. Who knows what really happened there? So Brett's actually not here, and so somebody's adventure marks wishing Brett to have some Breggy Bomb salsa to maybe speed up his his recovery, and Brett saying that maybe he added too much muscle there. I don't I know what you're saying there, so we'll see what's going on with the muscle. Maybe he doesn't. I think this year, I think he's going to be focusing on athleticism, because especially if he has any indication that he's going to be playing shortstop, he's really going to want to be able to go left and right, be a little bit more flexible. So we'll see what he has to do. So once we come back in a second, we're going to look at what the Zips projections are for 2022, and then we'll go ahead and say what Alex Bregman needs to do to take the next step in 2022. So speaking of which, let's go ahead and look at Brett's favorite. I know he's at home. He's not feeling great, so I'm sure he's eating a lot of Built Bars. Why not? Built Bars are great. They're healthy. And during the holiday season, you could just I've got a box of Built Bars that I'm going to give Brett for Christmas. Don't tell him. Oh, oops, I guess I just did. But it's filled with holiday goodness, rich with chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, net carbs, and the best of both worlds. Delicious and healthy. So many flavors, you'll have a hard time choosing. Will you have raspberry, mint brownie, cherry, or double chocolate, cookies and cream, or peanut butter brownie? Built Bar gives you the extra fuel that you'll need to bust down the mall doors and battle the holiday shoppers, or just standing in endless shopping lines. Built Bar can give you the extra something to keep you going. So throw one in your jacket or purse or your purse. You never know when you're going to need it, because the season is of peace and love. Don't forget to, but just don't bring up your favorite Built Bar flavor at the family party, because people are so passionate about their favorite flavors. They'll fight for it, and things could get a little bit out of hand. So what about Santa? Well, Santa loves a Built Bar too. So with so many flavors, they'll make anyone's Christmas morning a happy one. So dip your Built Bar in a piping hot cup of cocoa. Let it melt a little, and give your beverage a bit of Built Bar flavor. Plus, you'll have a nice melty Built Bar to go with it. Be sure you have a couple napkins on hand, because it could get a little bit messy. Like some of those marshmallow treats around the holidays, you need to get your hands on the Built Bar Puffs. They're light and fluffy and marshmallowy through and through. Different flavors, all covered in chocolate. Tastes so good, you won't believe that they're filled with protein. Go to builtbar.com and use the promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. All right. So I do want to briefly, before I give you the projections, I do want to kind of briefly compare Bregman's 2021 stats to his career stats. And I know some of that's be a little hard, but his 2021 batting average was 270. His career batting average was 280. So that was a big dip. But also in 2020, he took a step down with the 242 average. I know that was a Mickey Mouse season. If we keep on saying that with the Dodgers, we got to say that about the Astros too. I mean, it was a Mickey Mouse season. Everybody was weird. Alex Bregman is a notoriously slow starter. So if you're only going to play a 60-game season, Bregman's going to get off to a slow start. And he also had some leg issues in that season as well. He only played in 42 games. So Bregman just for the past 2 years, he has not looked like himself. But in 2018, 2019, that's the Alex Bregman that we should be expecting. So how do we get Alex Bregman back to the 2018, 2019 form where he hit 31 and 41 homers, 103 and 112 RBIs, respectively, while batting 286, 296 with the OPS of 926 and 1015. So how do we get Bregman back to that? That's what we're looking at. And I know that's what Alex Bregman wants to know because he's like, I didn't lose anything. I'm still the same player. I still see the ball. I still have this great plate discipline. And so I want to go back to player savant. So I'm going to go back to the 2018 season. If you look at his hard hit percentage, he was at 63%. Then you go back to 2019. Or when was it like really high? Oh, well. But there's a certain time where his hard hit percent was pretty high. Maybe it was in 2018 he was at 60. But anyway, his it just seems like season to season Alex Bregman's stats, just his numbers just were not consistent. And it just feels like there's inconsistency in his game. That does not mean he's not a great player. One thing that I noticed over when I was looking over his StatCast is his barrel percentage. Early in his career, like if you look at 2017, his barrel percentage rate, he was in the 34th percentile. Then in 2018, he went up to 53%. Then 2019 went to 21%. Then in 2020, 17%. And then 2021, 29%. So he's just not making the same barrel contact with the baseball. So something going on with Alex Bregman. Does that mean that he's all of a sudden a terrible baseball player? No. He's just got to figure out what made him great during the 2018 and 2019 seasons. So let's take a look at what Zips. Okay, now I just want to make it obvious and clear. This is a way too early look at this. We don't even know if there's going to be an early start to the season. We don't know if there's going to be spring training, but this is what Zips by Fangraphs has to say, predicting for Alex Bregman. And I would say this is very, 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 very conservative. So they have Alex Bregman hitting 23 home runs, 84 RBIs, 75 walks, only striking out 74 times with 3 stolen bases. And let me scroll down here. With a 274 batting average, then a 380 on base percentage, a 495 slugging percentage, and an OPS plus of 135. So they're saying he's going to make some progress in 2022. But they're not saying he's going to make a lot of progress. His OPS plus is going to go up a little bit, and his number one player comp is Sal Bondo. Let me look up his stats real quick. Sal Bondo played with the A's and the Brewers, and I guess he hit like 25 home runs, and he drove in 74 RBIs this season pretty much, and he was consistently let's say average about 260 batting average guy. So that's who they're saying his comparison is. So, but we know that Alex Bregman, unless you can say, I mean, I don't want to say what I'm trying to say, but unless he was really aided by the use of technology or whatever in the 2017-2018 season. But as Astros fans, we know what type of player Alex Bregman is. So I just think that what I think is, and I really wanted to save this for the third segment, is where he needs to go from here. But he lost that cockiness. I don't know what happened, but he lost that cockiness, and that's what made him great. Him thinking that he was better than everybody. And so we'll talk about that in a second. So I really think that if Bregman is totally healthy, I think these stats are very conservative. I think that he can get back to a 30 home run hitter. I think he can get back to that one homer, that one RBI. I can't talk. The 100 RBI plateau, especially if Carlos Correa is gone, because the Astros will be relying on him more and more than ever. So what do y'all think? So let's see. Adventure Mark says, God willing, he stays healthy. I'll say 285, 410, 505 with 115 RBIs. Okay. What else? Astroworld Craig says he wants to play shortstop. That'll be good for his ego, and good for his ego is good for his. That's what I'm trying to say, is that he seems to be a guy that strives on his ego, strives on being the best player on the field. And he just, when he's not really at his best, that's when he tends to struggle, when he's not that confident. So I think that when he was hampered with his injuries over the past couple seasons, that's just when he just hasn't been at his best. So is he going to be playing third base? Is he going to be playing shortstop? Who knows? I believe at this point, it seems like he's going to be playing third base because that's where the Astros want him to play. Would he love to play shortstop? Sure. Who wouldn't want to play shortstop? I mean, but at this time, he's still young. He's still, 27 years old? I think I said that earlier. So he still has a lot of time. He's still young enough to play, but at the same time, he's coming off a season where he dealt with a lot of injuries, and so we'll see what happens. So Paul says that once he got his paycheck, he started his slump. As soon as the cheating scandal came out, he really went south. Yeah, so some people may say that, but I think it had more to do with the injuries. I think that it just all caught up to him. So we'll see what happens in 2018, because his contract is up until he signed through 2024. So the Astros have him for 2 more seasons. So we'll see what happens. And I do believe that it was that he lost his edge. He lost that cockiness, like I said. And once you lose that, it's hard to bet on a player. And speaking of betting, let's talk about betting online. BetOnline.ag. BetOnline.ag has you covered all season, more props, odds, and lines than ever before. As the football season continues to march to the playoffs, BetOnline remains your number one spot for all sports action this season. Do you like The Bachelor and Bachelorette like Brett does? Well, head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code Locked On to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, right down to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. So let's go and start taking a look at what he needs to do for the 2022 season, to not just for him, but to make the Astros a World Series contender. Because I'm going under the assumption that Carlos Correa may not be here next year, because if he reportedly he turned down a 10-year, $275 million deal from the Tigers. If that's true, what the heck can the Astros do? I don't think they can offer a deal that high. If they can, great. Jim Crane, just write the check, just add maybe a little bit more to it, and maybe he'll stay. But I think with Bregman, I think Paul said it, and I've said it a few times. He's lost his edge. I mean, I know he's focused a little bit on the salsa business. That has nothing to do with baseball, but he needs that edge. The edge is what made Bregman great. That cockiness, that like, I'm better than all you MFs on this field. And that's what made him best. When he would go in and dugout, scream, and like do all his little dugout celebrations. That's what made Bregman great. And he just needs to get back in that mold. Now it just seems like after the cheating scandal, it just seems like I don't want to say he's scared to celebrate, but it just seems like he's just not enjoying baseball as much as he used to. I mean, I'm not saying that he's not, but it just from what we can see. So he needs to go back to just having fun. Okay. Now from there, he has great eye at the plate. He needs to work on working on his barrel percentage and just hitting the ball at the right spot. Maybe elevating the ball a little bit more. It seems like last year he hit into a lot of double plays. Maybe and another thing, he just needs to stay healthy. He needs to get those legs 100% healthy this year, because hitting is all about the legs. I mean, yeah, it's about running to try to reach base and beat out the double play, reach out and beat out the throw to first base. But hitting is also about your legs. You've got to go ahead. There's a lot of motion with your legs. So he's got to be 100% healthy with that legs too. So what does Alex Bregman need to do to get better in 2022? He's got to really, really just get healthy. He's got to work on this offseason. I'm sure he is, but he's got to work this offseason on just making contact. And he's really got to get his edge back. He's got to get his fire back. That's what made him great. And it just feels like this past 2 seasons, I don't know whether it's intentional. I don't know whether it's just like he felt like he had to, but he just lost that edge that made him great. And that's what he needs to do. So Zips projections only had him hitting 23. I think that's a little bit low. I think he'll get back to at least the 32 homer potential. I really think he's going to go back to the 1 homer mark. And we'll talk about the other players. This is going to be kind of recurring show theme we're going to be doing over the next week or so, and we'll focus on some other players. One player I do want to focus on next is probably going to be Michael Brantley, because yes, he had a good season batting average wise, but what can he do to kind of do this? So this is just something that we wanted to look at. So anybody else, what do you think Alex Bregman needs to do to take the next step in 2022? And while y'all are about to put that in comments, I do want to mention that it does look like Joe Espada will be back as the Astros bench coach next year. I don't think that he will get the Mets position. So we'll see what happens there. But I hope that the Astros see this as a warning and say, hey, okay, we got to go ahead and make sure that we're giving Dusty Baker one more season. But there's a lot of interest in Joe Espada, so we got to make sure that we go ahead and make him our manager if we want him. And I do agree with this. Adventure Mark says the fact that his rate and his contact rates are still there give me confidence he'll be back. Yeah, and like I've been saying, it's all about the legs, especially with a hitter like Bregman. It's all about the legs with him, and his legs were not great the past 2 seasons. So you can't hit if you can't use your legs right. And that's a difference on turning on a fastball or popping it up or hitting into double play. So it's just the legs are a big difference. And until he's totally healthy, we'll see what happens. So he has this whole offseason, but at the same time, it's in the middle of lockout, so he can't work with the trainers. We heard this from Lance McCullers coming out and saying, yeah, we can't go to Minute Maid Park. We can't work out with the trainers. So we're having to do all the stuff on our own. That's a bad thing about the workouts. So, but I'm sure somebody like Bregman, he can afford a good trainer. He can afford the time to do this. And I think that he has the hunger. He has the drive. He has we already heard him say, look, if they want me to play shortstop, I'll play shortstop. And he's going to train to be a shortstop. Now, does that mean he's going to play shortstop? Probably not. But he wants to be ready in case there's that need to play shortstop. That's why I think Alex Bregman will take the next step and get back to that 2017, 2018 level. Will he be that monster of a hitter he was back then? Who knows? Was it really aided by the trash can system in 2017? Was it really some other type of form? But I don't think it was. I think there's more to it with Alex Bregman. I think that he has the ability to do it. Injuries have held him back, and I think he will take the next step in 2022. So that's all I got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. And as Astroworld Craig said, healthy wheels is what will help Bregman the most, and I agree. And I think that we'll see that. And especially if Carlos Correa does walk, I think Bregman will put the extra pressure on himself to say, okay, wow, this is my team now. Well, not his team, but this is, there's more pressure on me to perform, and I've got to carry the load that Carlos Correa was carrying. And so we'll see a lot better Alex Bregman. So that's all we got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. We'll be back tonight with another one. Go Astros, and hope you have a happy holiday week, and I'll talk to you later.